That's what's taught at the university. That's what's curing diseases and putting bridges together and so forth. And you say that then becomes the model of rationality. And then the transcendentalist comes along and says, okay, but we need to have some account for the success of science. You can't just say, do it this way because it's successful. If you're going to be philosophically sophisticated, you have to explain how it is that it's successful. And there's only one way to explain, one general way in which you can answer that question, and that's to do metaphysics. You have to have some account of the nature of reality, in terms of which that's why when we do the following kinds of things, procedurally, methodologically, we have success. So I'm already talking about pragmatism, but let me go back and just real quickly explain. The pragmatist sees the problems of the rationalist and the empiricist in terms of theory of knowledge, and essentially says, I'm going to avoid those pitfalls by telling everybody they're irrelevant. This is a bold move. Now, they don't always come out and put it this bluntly. There's more sophisticated ways of saying it. But essentially, the pragmatist says, who cares about Hume's skepticism? We don't need to answer Hume because, after all, we're able to build bridges and cure polio and do things. As long as a certain procedure helps us to adapt to our environment successfully, then it's rational. A certain procedure helps us to accomplish our ends, and that's why we choose it. We are pragmatic in our approach. Quine openly says that we prefer a certain approach because of survival of the fittest. Webb would believe, I can't believe it. He just comes right out and says that. The reason why we think inductively is because those who think inductively survive. It's just built into us. We don't worry about justifying induction. It's just a pragmatic matter. Okay? Now, the problem with pragmatism is that it presumes we know what ends to seek. Like we know where we want to go, and there's an obligation to go there. But if you don't have a justification for the normativity of the end that is pursued by what you call rationality, then is rationality justified? I'm going to go slow here because I'm sure that this is what's going to confuse some of you. You should be stopping me. How do you justify rational procedure? How do you justify rationality? How do you make rationality itself rational? The pragmatist says because it accomplishes our ends. But you see, that doesn't justify rationality unless you can what? Justify your ends. And this is what the pragmatist is unable to do. So pragmatism reduces to subjectivism. Hey, see? Some of you are catching on, right? And so what seems to be the persistent problem in autonomous philosophy? Keeps getting reduced to subjectivism and skepticism. Pragmatism not only reduces in the way that the others do to skepticism, but I just want to add my own little 2 cents worth of a kick in the pants. It also is, I think, the chicken approach to philosophy, if I can be insulting here. It's just a refusal to face the tough questions. John Dewey looks at the history of philosophy and all these things. Dewey couldn't answer the problems. And so you know what he does? He says, well, then I won't play that game. And this is a rough analogy, but that'd be kind of like going out to the basketball court and realizing that maybe you don't have the ability to compete with Dr. Bahnsen's sons out there on the court. And then you say, after you've shown up for the game, who cares about basketball? Right? I just want you to be able to see in a mundane level, intellectually, in intellectual circles, scholars, they always guard their pride, and so you're not going to see them come out and do that. But essentially, John Dewey said, we're not able to do this. Who cares?